The station never truly slept. Even during the artificial night cycle, lights hummed softly, and machines whispered behind metal walls. The human technician moved through the long corridor with steady steps. His name was Ethan, and he was used to being invisible here. Humans were guests in the galaxy, useful, tolerated, but never important. Ethan had arrived on the orbital city 3 months ago. It was his first off-world assignment. The station was massive, larger than any human city, built in layers that curved like the inside of a giant shell. Aliens of many kinds lived and worked there, each following their own rules, their own silence. This night, Ethan was working late. Power fluctuation had been reported in the inner residential ring. The task was simple. Check the panel, replace a regulator, leave. No guards, no escort. Just another small human job no one else wanted. He followed the glowing path on his wrist display. Corridor after corridor passed, each quieter than the last. The air felt different here. He noticed it, but told himself it was just the station's climate control adjusting. The map flickered. Ethan slowed down. The display showed 2 doors ahead. Both were unmarked. That was strange. Most areas had clear alien symbols, warnings, or color codes. These doors were smooth, dark, and silent. He checked the display again. The signal pulsed once, then stabilized. Wrong door, he thought. But the maintenance signal pointed to the left. Ethan hesitated. He had learned early that curiosity could get a human killed in alien space. Still, rules were rules. He placed his hand on the door panel and activated it. The door slid open without a sound. The room inside was large and dimly lit. Soft light glowed from the walls, not harsh like work areas, but warm and calm. Strange patterns moved slowly across the floor, like shadows underwater. Ethan stepped inside. The door closed behind him. He froze. Someone was already there. She stood near the far side of the room, tall and still. Her shape was humanoid, but clearly alien. Her skin shimmered faintly, not reflecting light, but absorbing it. Her eyes were dark and deep, focused entirely on him. She did not speak. Ethan's heart began to race. He knew immediately this was not a normal resident. The room itself felt different. No exposed panels. No tools. No visible technology. Everything looked intentional, ceremonial, controlled. This was not a place meant for him. "I'm sorry," Ethan said quickly, keeping his voice calm. "I entered the wrong room." The alien woman did not move. She did not signal guards. She did not raise a weapon. She did not react at all. Her silence was heavier than anger. Ethan took a step back toward the door. He reached behind him, feeling for the panel. It was gone. The door's surface was smooth now, seamless, as if it had never existed. A chill ran through his body. "I'll leave," he said. Didn't mean she raised one hand. Not threatening, not welcoming, just enough to stop him. Ethan obeyed without thinking. The station night cycle deepened. Outside the room, unseen, the lights dimmed further. Inside, the soft glow remained unchanged. She began to walk toward him. Every step was slow, measured. Ethan felt something pressing against his thoughts. Not pain, but attention. As if he were being examined in ways no scanner could measure. He realized then that she had known he was coming. This was not an accident. She stopped a few steps away. Up close, he could see fine markings along her skin, patterns that shifted with her breathing. Her eyes reflected faint images of him, as if recording more than just his appearance. Still, she said nothing. Minutes passed. Ethan had never felt time stretch like this. Every sound seemed loud. His breath, his heartbeat, the distant hum of the station. Finally, she turned away from him. Relief flooded his chest. Then she touched the wall. The room changed. The light shifted, growing deeper, darker. The patterns on the floor rearranged themselves into unfamiliar symbols. Ethan did not understand them, but something in his mind reacted anyway. A feeling of recognition without memory. She looked back at him. This time her gaze was different, curious, evaluating. The maintenance alert on Ethan's wrist display went dark. No task, no exit marker, no signal. He was completely disconnected. The realization hit him hard. No one was coming. No one knew where he was. The alien woman moved to a low structure in the center of the room and sat down. It was not a throne, but it felt like one. She folded her hands and waited. For what Ethan did not know, he stood there, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. Every instinct told him to run, but there was nowhere to go. Outside, the station entered full night. Inside, the night had already begun, and Ethan understood one terrifying truth. Whatever this was, it was only just starting. Ethan remained standing where he was. The room felt larger now, as if the walls had moved farther away. The air was calm, but heavy, pressing softly against his skin. The alien woman sat in silence, her eyes fixed on him. She did not blink. Time passed without measure. Ethan could not tell how long he had been there. Minutes felt like hours. His wrist display stayed dark, cold against his arm. No signal, no help. He shifted his weight slightly. Her eyes followed the movement instantly. Ethan froze again. She was watching everything. Not just his body, but his reactions, his fear, his thoughts. He could feel it now, a faint pressure in his mind, like fingers brushing the surface of his awareness. Not pain, not control, observation. He swallowed and spoke again, quietly. "I really shouldn't be here." His words echoed softly, then disappeared into the walls. The alien woman showed no sign that she had heard him, yet something changed. The pressure in his mind grew sharper, more focused. Images flickered at the edge of his thoughts. Stars, ships, cities burning in silence. Ethan gasped and staggered back a step. The images vanished. She tilted her head slightly, curiosity. She rose from her seat and walked toward him again. Ethan noticed now how the floor responded to her steps. Light flowed beneath her feet, like the room itself recognized her authority. She stopped close to him, closer than before. Ethan could see the fine details of her face, the subtle ridges along her cheekbones, the strange calm in her dark eyes. She was beautiful in a way that felt dangerous, like standing too close to a vast drop. Still, she did not speak. Instead, she reached out and touched his wrist. The contact was gentle. The moment her fingers brushed his skin, Ethan felt warmth spread through his arm, then into his chest. His breathing slowed without him trying. The fear did not vanish, but it softened, pushed aside by something deeper. Understanding. Her eyes widened slightly. She had felt it too. For the first time, emotion crossed her face. Surprise, then interest. She pulled her hand away and stepped back. The room responded again. Patterns on the walls shifted, forming long, flowing lines that circled them both. Ethan felt as if the room had sealed itself completely, cutting them off from the rest of the station. He realized then that this chamber was not just private, it was protected. No guards would enter, no alarms would sound, nothing inside would leave without her permission. The alien woman walked slowly around him. Ethan stayed still, his instincts screaming at him not to move. He felt like prey under the gaze of a powerful predator, yet there was no hunger in her eyes, only judgment. She stopped behind him. Ethan felt her presence without seeing her. The pressure in his mind returned, stronger now. Images formed again, clearer this time. A vast council chamber. Tall figures seated in shadow. A small blue planet far away. Earth. Ethan's breath caught. The images shifted. Humans working, building, exploring, struggling, always watched, always measured. His knees weakened. "This is wrong," he whispered. The pressure eased slightly. She stepped back into his view. For the first time she spoke, not with sound. Her voice appeared directly in his mind, calm and controlled. "You were not supposed to enter." Ethan flinched. "I'm sorry," he said aloud. "I didn't know." Her gaze sharpened. "That is true." The words echoed softly inside his head, layered with meaning. She was not accusing him. She was confirming something. "But you were allowed." Ethan looked at her, confused. Allowed by who? She did not answer immediately. Instead, she studied him again, more carefully than before. Her attention felt like a weight, heavy but not crushing. "Your kind is different," her voice said at last. Ethan shook his head slightly. "No, we're not. We're weak, we're new. Everyone knows that." A flicker of something like amusement crossed her mind. That is what the galaxy believes. She turned away and moved toward the center of the room. With a gesture, the air itself seemed to respond. A faint projection appeared above the floor. Not a hologram like human tech, but something more real, more alive. A timeline. Ethan saw ancient stars flare into existence. Civilizations rising and falling. Wars erased from memory. Empires reduced to dust. Then he saw humans, not as they were now, but as they once were. Tall structures in space. Fleets moving with purpose. Human symbols glowing with power. Ethan's heart pounded. "That's impossible," he said. "It was erased," she replied. Long ago, she looked at him again. "And tonight is a test." The word sent a chill through him. A test for what? Her silence returned, heavier than before. She stepped closer once more, her presence filling the room, to see if humanity deserves to remember. The projection faded. The room returned to stillness. Ethan stood in shock, his mind racing. Outside, unseen, the station continued its quiet night cycle. Inside the chamber, something ancient had awakened. And Ethan understood that this night was no longer about a mistake. It was about a choice yet to be made. Ethan stood in silence after her last words. The room felt colder now, not in temperature but in meaning. The idea that humanity had once been something more pressed heavily on his thoughts. The alien woman watched him closely. She could sense his confusion, his doubt, his fear. "You're saying humans were powerful?" Ethan said slowly. "More than we are now?" She did not answer at once. Instead, she turned and walked to the far side of the chamber. The light followed her movement like a living thing. When she stopped, the walls shifted again. Images appeared, slower this time. Ethan saw early human colonies spreading across space. He saw humans standing beside alien species, not below them, not above them, but equal. Their technology looked strange, not aggressive, not elegant, but adaptive. It changed with its users. "This doesn't make sense," Ethan said. "If we had all this, why don't we remember any of it?" The alien woman faced him. "'Cause memory is dangerous," her voice said inside his mind. "And your kind was too resilient." Ethan frowned. "Resilient is bad now." "To those who fear being replaced," she replied. The images shifted again. This time, Ethan saw fear. Alien leaders watching human growth, councils meeting in secret, decisions made quietly, carefully. Not to destroy humanity, but to limit it. Control, without war. "Your species adapts faster than any other," she continued. "You endure loss, you rebuild, you return stronger." That frightened them. The projection faded. Ethan felt anger rise in his chest. Not explosive, not wild, but steady and deep. "So they broke us," he said. "They pushed us back to one planet." "Yes, and you're part of this system," Ethan said, looking at her. "You benefit from it?" For the first time, she looked away. "I was born into it," she answered. "Not all inheritances are chosen." She moved closer again, stopping a short distance from him. The pressure in his mind returned, but it was different now, not probing. Sharing. Ethan felt fragments of her life brush against his thoughts. Endless years, endless duty, watching cycles repeat. Watching humans struggle from afar, she had never interfered, until now. "Why me?" Ethan asked quietly. "I'm nobody, just a technician." She studied him carefully. "That is why." The answer surprised him. "Those who seek power fail the test," she explained. "Those who already hold it are too bound by fear. But those who believe they are small, they see clearly." Ethan looked down at his hands. He had never thought of himself as important. He had worked hard, followed rules, stayed invisible. Survival, not ambition, had shaped him. The alien woman gestured again. The room responded. A new image formed. A symbol Ethan did not recognize, complex and layered. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "This chamber reacts only to certain minds," she said. Yours did not reject it. Ethan felt the truth of that statement settle inside him. From the moment he had entered, the room had not resisted him. It had accepted him. "That still doesn't explain the silence," he said. "Why you didn't speak? Why you didn't throw me out?" Her eyes narrowed slightly. "'Cause this test begins with stillness." She stepped closer until he could feel warmth radiating from her presence. Fear reveals much, she continued, but silence reveals truth. Ethan swallowed. And what did you see? She held his gaze. You did not beg, you did not threaten, you did not lie. He let out a slow breath. That's because none of that would have helped. A faint sense of approval touched his thoughts. The lights in the room dimmed slightly. Outside the chamber, the station night cycle deepened further. Most beings slept now. Guards were minimal. Systems ran on passive oversight, the safest time for secrets. What happens next, she said, cannot be undone. Ethan's pulse quickened. You're talking like I don't get a choice. She shook her head. You always have a choice. Humans always do. She turned and walked toward the center of the chamber again. The floor responded, opening slightly, revealing a deeper layer beneath. Energy flowed upward, soft but powerful. Ethan felt it resonate inside him. If you leave, she said, this night will fade. You will forget details. You will return to your life unchanged. And if I stay, he asked. She paused. Then you will remember. The weight of that word pressed against him. Remembering meant responsibility. It meant knowledge without safety. It meant carrying a truth no one else could know. Ethan thought of Earth, of humans working ordinary jobs, believing the galaxy barely noticed them. Believing they were alone, small, temporary. How long have you been waiting? He asked. She looked at him with something close to honesty. Longer than your species has used spoken language. That answer settled something inside him. This was not a trap. It was a turning point. Ethan took a step forward. The room responded immediately. The energy grew brighter. The symbol pulsed faster. The alien woman watched him carefully, not stopping him, not guiding him either. He stopped beside her. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, he said. I don't know how to fix what was taken from us. Her voice touched his mind again, softer now. You are not here to fix the past. He looked at her. Then why am I here? She turned to face him fully, to decide the future. The lights stabilized. The chamber sealed completely. And Ethan understood that whatever he chose next would echo far beyond this room, far beyond this night. Ethan stood beside her as the chamber settled into a deep quiet. The energy beneath the floor moved slowly now, like a calm ocean hiding great depth. He felt it through his boots, through his bones, as if the room was listening. The alien woman watched him without speaking. The silence returned, but it was no longer heavy. It was waiting. Ethan realized this moment mattered more than anything he had ever faced. Not because someone demanded a decision, but because no one did. There was no pressure, no command, no threat, only truth. He broke the silence. If I stay, he said, I can't pretend I didn't see this. Her eyes reflected faint light as she answered inside his mind. No. And if I leave, he continued, I forget enough to live normally, yes. Ethan let out a slow breath. Normal. The word felt strange now. Normal meant quiet work, silent respect, being overlooked. Normal meant Earth struggling forward without knowing why it always felt behind. He looked around the chamber. This place, he said, it reacts to me. Why? She considered him for a moment. Because your kind does not resist what it does not understand, she replied. Most species do. That answer stayed with him. Humans had always faced the unknown by stepping into it, not away from it. Sometimes it cost them dearly. Sometimes it saved them. But they always tried. Ethan looked back at her. What happens if others find out? The pressure in the room changed slightly. War, she answered. Fear spreads faster than reason, so helping us openly would destroy us, Ethan said. Yes, and doing nothing keeps us weak. Also yes. Ethan nodded slowly. So you chose the quiet path. She did not deny it. I chose delay, she said, not weakness. He studied her face. For the first time, he saw something beneath her calm control. Weariness. Not physical, but deep, ancient, and lonely. How many times have you stood here, he asked, waiting for someone like me? Her answer came after a long pause. Too many. That word carried centuries. Ethan felt something shift inside him. He was no hero. He knew that. Right. But he also knew this moment was not about strength or courage. It was about responsibility. "What do you want from me?" he asked. She stepped closer. The warmth of her presence returned, steady and grounding. "I want you to choose without fear." "That's not easy," Ethan said quietly. Her gaze softened. "Humans never choose wisely. That is why your choices matter." The floor beneath them opened further. A thin column of light rose between them, soft but powerful. Within it, Ethan saw fragments of knowledge, star maps, energy systems, patterns too complex to name. None of it forced itself into his mind. It waited. "This isn't power," Ethan said slowly. "It's memory." "Yes, and memory changes people always." Ethan stepped closer to the light. The warmth grew stronger. He felt no pain, no pull, only presence. "If I take this," he said, "I'd become a risk." She nodded slightly. "To yourself first." He laughed quietly. Not from humor, but from truth. "That sounds like every human advance ever." A faint trace of approval touched his thoughts. Outside the chamber, unseen, a patrol passed through a distant corridor. Sensors flickered briefly, then returned to normal. The station remained unaware. Inside, history balanced on a quiet edge. Ethan hesitated. "What happens to you," he asked, "if I choose wrong?" She looked away again. "I will continue waiting." That answer felt heavier than any threat. Ethan closed his eyes. He thought of Earth, of people living short lives, believing they were insignificant in a vast universe. He thought of how humans endured, adapted, survived again and again. Not because they were strongest, but because they refused to stop trying. He opened his eyes. "I won't take everything," he said. "Not tonight." The light dimmed slightly. "But I won't walk away either," he continued. "I'll remember enough." She studied him carefully. "That path has never been chosen before." "Then it's about time," Ethan said. The chamber reacted. The light shifted, narrowing, focusing. A single stream of knowledge brushed his mind. Not overwhelming, not complete. A seed. Ethan gasped softly as understanding settled into place. Concepts aligned, possibilities formed. Not instructions, not commands, but awareness. When it ended, he staggered slightly. She steadied him with one hand. The contact grounded him instantly. Her voice entered his mind again. "You surprise me, human." Aten smiled weakly. "I get that a lot." The light faded completely. The floor sealed itself, smooth and silent once more. The chamber returned to its calm state. "What now?" Ethan asked. Her expression shifted, becoming more distant, more controlled. "Now we return to our roles." "You mean pretend this never happened? To everyone else?" she clarified. Ethan nodded, could already feel parts of the memory softening, fading around the edges. But the core remained. Understanding stayed. The door reappeared behind him, seamless, silent, unlocked. She stepped back, creating distance between them. Her presence changed, becoming colder, more formal. Before he left, Ethan turned to her. "You never told me your name?" Her eyes met his. "Names create attachment," she said. "Attachment creates weakness. Humans live on that," Ethan replied. For a moment, she almost smiled, then survived, she said. Quietly, Ethan stepped toward the door. As it opened, the familiar hum of the station returned. Lights, airflow, normality. Before he crossed the threshold, her voice touched his mind one last time. "This night will echo." The door closed behind him. Ethan stood alone in the corridor, his wrist display flickering back to life as if nothing had happened. But he knew better. The galaxy still believed humans were small, and now that belief had become their greatest weakness. Ethan walked down the corridor as if nothing had happened. That was the strange part. The station looked the same. The lights glowed softly. God. The distant hum of engines and systems continued without pause. Aliens passed him without a second glance. To them, the night was ordinary. To Ethan, it was not. His wrist display showed the completed maintenance task. Timestamps matched. Logs were clean. No missing minutes. No errors. The system itself had adjusted the records. She had planned this. Ethan returned to his assigned quarters and closed the door behind him. Only then did he let his body relax. He sat on the edge of the narrow sleeping platform and stared at his hands. They looked the same, but they did not feel the same. His thoughts moved differently now. not faster. Clearer. Connections formed without effort. He understood systems he had worked with for years on a deeper level. Not instructions. Intent. The seed she had given him was alive. Ethan lay back and stared at the ceiling. Sleep did not come easily. Each time he closed his eyes, fragments surfaced. Not memories of the chamber, but understanding shaped like instinct. Patterns, limits, doors that had once been invisible. He slept eventually, but the sleep was light. When he awoke, the station was in its artificial morning cycle. His schedule chimed softly. Another routine shift. Another quiet human task. He stood, washed, and dressed. Nothing about him stood out. That worried him. On his way to the maintenance sector, he noticed small things. Power flow fluctuations that others ignored. Structural harmonics slightly out of balance. It's not dangerous yet, but inefficient. Without thinking, Ethan adjusted a calibration panel as he passed. The station responded instantly. Energy stabilized. Systems aligned. No alarms, no notifications, just improvement. An alien supervisor paused nearby and glanced at the panel. Confusion crossed the being's features, then acceptance. The system showed optimal performance. The supervisor moved on. Ethan continued walking. This repeated throughout the day. Small corrections. Subtle improvements. Nothing dramatic. Nothing traceable. By the end of his shift, the sector was running more smoothly than it had in years. No one questioned it. That night, far from the station, a monitoring array flagged an anomaly. Efficiency across multiple systems had increased beyond expected margins. Analysts reviewed the data. No cause was found. The file was archived. On Earth, a research lab struggled with an energy problem. A young engineer stared at a failed design for the 100th time. Frustrated, he adjusted a variable without knowing why. The system stabilized. He froze, then tested again. It worked. Across the planet, similar moments occurred. Nothing spectacular. No sudden leaps. Just progress that felt natural. As if something long dormant had stirred. Back on the station, Ethan returned to the quiet hours of night. He found himself near the same corridor without realizing it. The door to the chamber did not appear. He was not invited. That was expected. She had said this path was quiet. Days passed. Then weeks. Ethan changed. Slowly. Not in ways others could name. He listened more. Observed patterns. Anticipated problems before they formed. He never spoke of what he knew. That was the hardest part. Sometimes, in moments of stillness, he felt her presence. Not watching. Aware. As if she monitored outcomes, not him. One night, a system failure rippled across the station. Not critical, but unusual. Multiple sectors faltered at once. Guards were dispatched. Engineers rushed. Ethan arrived early. He studied the readouts and felt a chill. This was not random. The patterns were familiar. Old. He made adjustments carefully, gently, masking each correction within normal parameters. The station stabilized. Later, in a restricted council chamber, alien officials reviewed the incident. Data showed a flaw in legacy infrastructure. Recommendations were made. Quiet upgrades approved. No one questioned why the solution felt obvious. That night, Ethan dreamed of Earth. He saw humans reaching outward again, not with fleets, not with force. With understanding, with patience, woke with a strange certainty. The galaxy would not notice until it was too late. Weeks later, the door appeared. Ethan stopped short. The corridor was empty. The door stood exactly where it had before. Smooth, dark, silent. He approached slowly. It opened. The chamber was unchanged. The alien woman stood near the center, her presence calm and controlled. She looked at him. "You have been careful," her voice said inside his mind. "I tried," Ethan replied. She circled him slowly, observing. "The seed grows well." Ethan nodded. "It's spreading." "Yes. Was that your plan?" he asked through small things. "Was." She stopped in front of him. "Humanity spreads ideas faster than technology," she said. "I merely removed a weight." Ethan thought of Earth, of countless quiet minds making small discoveries. "They'll notice eventually," he said. "They already are," she replied. "But they will misunderstand." He looked at her. And when they realized the truth, her gaze hardened slightly. Then humanity will no longer be alone. The chamber shifted. A new image formed. Alien borders, trade routes, power structures beginning to bend, not break. Ethan felt the scale of it. "You're risking everything," he said. She met his gaze. "So are you." Silence filled the room again. This time it felt shared. "You said this night would echo," Ethan said. "It already is." Her voice softened. "This is only the beginning." The door opened behind him. As Ethan stepped back into the corridor, he understood something fully for the first time. Humanity was not rising in fire or war. It was rising the way it always had. Quietly, patiently, unstoppably. And when the galaxy finally looked closely enough to notice, the night would already be over. Ethan stepped back into the familiar corridor, and the door vanished behind him without a sound. The station returned to normal around him. Lights hummed. Air moved softly through vents. Distant voice announced a routine schedule update. Nothing marked the end of the night, but Ethan felt it. Something had settled into place inside him. Not excitement, not fear, but certainty. He returned to his quarters and prepared for departure. His contract on the station was ending. No one questioned it. The paperwork moved faster than expected. Transport clearance came without delay. Quiet paths opened. As he boarded the human shuttle, Ethan looked back at the massive orbital city. To most beings, it was a center of power. To him now, it was only one piece in a much larger pattern. The shuttle detached and slipped into open space. Stars stretched ahead. On Earth, the changes continued. They were still small, still quiet. A breakthrough in energy storage here, material discovery there. Nothing dramatic enough to draw fear or attention. But the pattern was undeniable. Human technology began to change in style rather than scale. Systems became simpler, yet stronger. Designs adapted faster. Failures led to improvements instead of collapse. Humanity was remembering how to learn again. Ethan returned to Earth without ceremony. No welcome, no recognition. He preferred it that way. He took a position teaching systems theory at a small research institute. His lectures were not revolutionary, never mentioned aliens, never spoke of ancient history. He asked questions. He guided curiosity. Students left his classes thinking differently, not knowing why, seeing connections they had not seen before. The seed spread. Across the galaxy, analysts noticed something strange. Human trade vessels began performing beyond expected limits. Not illegally, not aggressively, just efficiently. Human colonies stabilized faster than predicted. Human diplomats listened more than they spoke. Old assumptions weakened. In a hidden council chamber, far from Earth, ancient beings gathered. They reviewed data with growing concern. Humans were not advancing like conquerors. They were advancing like survivors. Adaptable, patient, quiet. That frightened them more than fleets ever could. One voice suggested intervention. Another warned against it. Humanity had always responded poorly to force. No decision was reached. Delay was chosen. Again. In the chamber of silence, the alien woman stood alone. She watched Earth through layers of observation that few beings could access. She saw the changes clearly. They were faster than expected. She felt something unfamiliar stir within her. Hope she had not given humanity power. Ethan felt her presence one last time years later. It's not his words, not his images, just awareness, a confirmation. The night had done its work. Decades passed. Humanity stepped outward. Not suddenly, but steadily. They did not challenge borders. They did not demand respect. They earned it. Alien engineers began adopting human design logic. Alien strategists studied human resilience models. Alien cultures quietly adjusted expectations. The galaxy shifted without ever declaring it had done so. One day, a human exploration ship encountered an ancient alien relic. It responded instantly to human presence. Not violently, not defensively, with recognition. The discovery sent quiet shockwaves through galactic society. Questions were asked. Old records were reopened. Truth, long buried, began to surface. When the revelation finally came, it did not spark war. It sparked fear. Not of what humans had become, but of what they had always been. A species that could lose everything and still rise. A species that did not need dominance to endure. A species that adapted when others broke. In a final council session, an ancient declaration was quietly amended. Humanity was reclassified, not as junior members, not as threats, but as equals. Ethan did not live to see the full result of that decision. His life remained small, quiet, human. He died believing he had done very little. That belief was his final gift, because the greatest strength humanity had ever possessed was not ancient technology or hidden knowledge. It was the ability to change without knowing who started it. Long after his name faded, long after the night became legend, the galaxy finally understood the truth it had feared for so long. Humans did not need to be awakened by force. They only needed to be allowed to remember, and once they did, morning was inevitable.